Ready, team?
Ready. Action activate.
Hey, what's going on? It's me, Gazbot, and I'm here for Action Activate. And if I'm here, then of course you know who else must be here.
It is I, the big dog. I'm not sure there was an intro before that because I didn't see anything on your screen.
That's weird because I saw it and heard it.
I saw nothing and heard nothing, which is why I said,
well, we'll find out. We're recording. I'll play it back to myself first, so that you didn't see the Action Activate characters. I'm sorry, the Neon Lights characters. Well, we'll find out later, and this might be something I have to edit and post, which I hate doing, but we'll find out. Meanwhile, we are recording, and we're talking about Neon Lights. Now, we previously talked to the creator. Let me put this up here. Clayton Younkin is the creator. There's other people involved. I just picked that up on the credits real quick. We interviewed him when it was right about to come out, but then there was some behind-the-scenes delays, and it didn't come out for a while. And then we got busy with other stuff and are only now circling back to it.
Yes.
The funny thing is, I remember at the time he had sent us some stuff that wasn't published yet, and so we kind of knew some behind-the-scenes stuff. And watching this, I forgot a lot of that because it's been so long, and then I started remembering a little bit as I watched it. Started coming back to me. So that being said, to be clear, the way it's set up, there's Act 1 and Act 2. Act 2, from what I understand, is like the episodes, like the further storyline. Act 1 is sort of vignettes of the various characters, and they can be all watched in any order, which I have opinions about that we'll get to. But we watched only and specifically Act 1, Ryder's Prologue, Keeping the Peace. So there's a lot of them, but if you want to watch first before you watch this or know what we're talking about, that's what we're talking about. Big Dog, why don't you say some stuff now?
Yeah. So one thing I thought was kind of cool for Act 1, like you said, is there's 5 different episodes. They all happen at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think there are pros and cons to watching in various orders, not necessarily the order we're watching them, not necessarily the order released. I think once you watch all of them, everybody kind of has their own preference of how they personally think they should be introduced. Like the reason they're all kind of like this is we get the backstory of our main characters, but then at one point, side note, we're going to jump around a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched, go watch. If not, spoilers are coming.
Yeah.
Toward the end of each episode, everybody intervenes at one point. They all are in the same place at the same time, and then the prism gives them all powers at the end, and that's kind of where we're left. And I am prone to liking Red Rangers, and this being that. I thought Ryder was cool. I thought they did a cool way of kind of introducing him and the world and this backstory in the beginning. I thought that very RPM vibes of the Dome City, and I thought it was a very unique take on, we've seen a bunch of end of the world stories. We've seen a lot of apocalyptic stuff, post-apocalyptic stuff, and this one's like all the bees died and then nobody had food and water. Yeah. Oh, all right. Seems unfortunately plausible. I don't love it, but at the same time I do, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it had a little bit, a lot of the backgrounds reminded me of Blade Runner, which is, the template for a lot of this, not this, but I mean, this genre in general. And also in addition to, we didn't see too much of this, but I wondered because we only watched this episode and they're saying this is like the glittering city. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of Hunger Games where there's the glittering city and everyone else is like in poverty and like it's all. And I think from what we had learned from the interview, it is a little bit like that, Yeah. So that aspect is interesting. But yeah, the being able to watch it in any order, like there are pros and cons. I don't quite know how I feel about it. Like it's innovative and it's good because, you know, like we see different points of view and they all are in the same place. But it was somewhat daunting of like, well, I just want to watch one episode. Oh, there's like 5 episode ones, and it's sort of like, well, which one am I gonna? I guess, and I chose for the team because I watched it first, and I just picked the first one on the top of the playlist. I didn't say, oh, Red Ranger, oh, Ryder, like I just because it was on top. And I feel like there's probably a lot of people like me that are just gonna go down the list because that's how they happen to be ordered. Now we haven't watched the other episodes yet, but it makes me wonder, is this the best entry point story-wise? Is this the highest quality one? Like, you know, as someone who creates myself, sometimes it's like, oh, well, I'm glad you like that, but really these are better. You know what I mean? And so it'd be interesting if like, you know, oh, if a lot of people end up watching this one, is this the one the creator would have chosen for everybody to like go in
Yeah,
on?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
With that, we kind of dig into Ryder. AI, I like Arc Industries. I like that. We see him replay a memory for like
I like all this
200
text effect stuff.
Yeah.
It's all very cool.
the 230th time.
Yeah. So clearly he's obsessed.
Yeah.
Okay. So this we talked a little bit beforehand. I'm going to try to not be too negative because there are negatives and positives, and I'll just say this up front. Clayton and the crew on a nothing budget doing an independent thing have done an amazing job. They've done a really good job, and they're not leaning on Power Rangers. They're doing their own characters. Excuse me. And there's a prodigious output for such a short period of time. So all the credit in the world across the board for that. However, I am now going to nitpick. And my first,
with that being said,
and this is a very personal choice. I recognize it's not something that we, but what you see here, that looks like rotoscope to me. That looks like they took video of someone running and waving and just put a shadow over it, and used that in the animation. And that has been used before. The one that always comes to my mind, and this is why it's definitely like a personal taste thing. Ralph Bakshi, who is one of the most famous, respected animators ever, did a version of Lord of the Rings, and in it there were scenes where they did rotoscope, which is when you trace over an actor. That's like how they did He-Man and stuff. That's fine. Again, not my personal taste, but that's fine. But then there were other scenes where people were the orcs. They had actors dressed like orcs and kind of just put them in and put like a little color over them. And I always thought that looked terrible because I'm like, oh, I could tell.
You can see the difference.
And this reminds me of that. It's like, this is the smoothest, fullest animation in the whole thing because it's not really animated. Or if it is, it's some CGI that somebody else did that they brought in as, you know. Yeah. And so then when we cut to this is fine, but it doesn't match. And maybe not everyone's going to notice that. Maybe it won't bother everyone as much as me. Again, Ralph Bakshi got away with it. But for me, I'm like, I wish they didn't do that. I wish they kept it consistent.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, because kind of, you know, looking through this like second and a half time, I would say, I do like that it gives kind of like a motion comic feel. I don't know how many motion comics you've watched, but I remember getting some when I was a kid. It was DVDs of like Ultimate X-Men, but like it has voiceover and they move the art that's already there. And like I really enjoyed that, and it really helped my imagination kind of fill in the rest in a good way. And this same thing, there, like I would say 80 to 90% of it is that, and then every once in a while it was like, I personally would have done less, but again, that's just a personal choice / nitpick and not like wrong per se. You know
I approached this as sort of a motion comic as well, was my expectation going in. I mean, I know it's super independent, super low / no budget. Like, you know, so again, I give them all the credit in the world. This is a heck of an achievement. But if I just said that and didn't, you know, then we'd be done. Oh, good. You know, like, so I'll give a positive though. I do like the voice actor that plays Ryder. I think he was the best part of like grounding everything, and like, you know, like I believed him as that character. It was very understated. I thought he did a good job. Not that the other voice acting was terrible or anything, but I liked him.
Yeah, in this episode specifically, I really liked him, and I actually really liked his partner more than I thought.
I don't know how I feel about his partner. Not the acting necessarily, but okay, sorry, gotta be negative again. I also don't like that they use photos. It's weird to me.
I think for you, kind of summing it up, you want one style
consistent
and not multiple. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're going to have multiple styles, have it like if he's starting to go insane, or if it's this, you know, this hallucinogenic thing, or he goes to a different dimension and you're doing it to like jar the viewer, fine. But this is stuff that I would have rather was limited animation to match what they had, or rotoscope it, I guess, or even just put a better filter on it. You know what I mean? Because later on they show cities and things that are clearly not stuff they animated. It's either CGI or live action. They filter it in such a way that it's not as obvious. But when they just have shots of just like this stuff, like I don't know, it's weird because I don't know, it just bothers me that the incongruity of it, and
Because
takes me
it
out of the
feels
story.
more news-like than kind of immersing in this specific world.
Yes. And I've seen we watched Immortal Red Fox who used stock footage in the same way, but Mortal Red Fox was live action, and so it kind of blended. And like, even though I know that they didn't go out and film a riot for that show, it didn't strike me as noticeable. So yeah. And when they use other stock footage like these CGI things or this city, which I don't know how much of this was created by them and how much, I know you use some stock footage. Most of this stuff either doesn't bother me or I like it. It's just the live action stuff that and the photo images, which I'm sorry to rag on it, but it really bothered me.
Yep. We get past that pretty quick, and then now finding out a little bit more about Ryder, and specifically what I found interesting was how they don't have enough police force, so the police are just getting away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, this is the partner. Yeah, the partner definitely was supposed to be like the standard, like corrupt, hey, we just got to do what we got to do cop, and taking it kind of not seriously. Like it was like a little pew 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 pew. And I couldn't tell if I was supposed to think he was funny or be like, oh, this guy's a creep, or both. You know what I mean? Because like clearly he's not the hero and he has the wrong point of view, but he was so goofy that I wasn't sure what I was supposed to feel about him.
I took it as, in the beginning, he kind of gives that like, goofy sidekick partner vibe, and then the more things progress, the more you're like, oh, you're kind of a dirtbag.
Okay, so maybe I did get it right then, because at first I'm like, he's just a goofy guy, like, pew, pew, and then later I'm like,
yeah, because he's like,
okay.
pew, and you're like, okay, one's good. Then he does it again. You're like, okay, and then he's like, hey, let's go do some unsavory things. And Ryder's like, I'd rather not. And he's like, no, like seriously, like I don't know why you're questioning me on this. Like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to decide what's worth nitpicking and what I should just let go.
Full transparency. We talked about this beforehand, but Gaz being in animation sees things in a different light, kind of like.
Good.
When we watch either Rangers proper or some of the like live action indie stuff that we watch, whereas the fight scenes, I'm always more hypercritical than him, where I'm like, this was a good one, I hated this one. You're like, all action to me. And same with this, where I'm like, it's all colorful animation to me, and you're like, actually.
What and part of it I understand, they're trying to be economical, but like they have the exact same body and the exact same arm parts. They're just, the pigment is changed for the skin tone. And to a certain extent, that's fine, because like, oh, well, they're cops and they're superheroes.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
But it's like, are they, because I'm thinking of this, I'm like, are they genetically engineered? Are they clones? Are they templates? Are they robots? Because they're exactly the same, except for the head and the skin pigmentation. Now, again, I'm a realistic person. I understand they want to save and whatever, but I'm like, could have done, I don't know, made one a little bit taller or shrunk, and like just something to give him a tattoo. It was just so perfectly exact, every line, and they're standing right next to each other in the same exact costume. That if, and again, this is an easy fix, say, oh, when you join the force, they augment you physically, or when you like make them super soldiers.
To be fair, that could be revealed and we just haven't seen it.
That could, and that would be amazing. But it was like, oh, this is like, you got to hide it a little bit better if you're going to do that, is what I was thinking.
Yeah. To me, I could see that being a possibility, because like how Ryder has like augmented eyes and his partner doesn't.
Yes. Yeah.
Same kind of thing, where I think it could,
I'm such a jerk. I can't not say it though. The lip sync is not great. If I had to guess, there are programs that you could feed mouth shapes into. I haven't used them myself, and they kind of give you an approximation of lip sync, and that's what it looks like they did, which is better than some stuff in Power Rangers, to be fair, when they don't even open their mouths. But I don't love it.
It's a choice that you don't like.
It's a choice. Yeah. It's again, it's economical because it takes a long time to lip sync properly. I like the story so far. Well, let me see this. Okay, let me bring. I have a lot of negative. Let me bring. When we started this, there was the live footage and like a lot of things right in the beginning that I was like, ooh, a nitpicky style wise, animation wise, that I was sort of like, this is going to be tough to review and be positive about. But by a few minutes in, the story did have me hooked, where I didn't mind that stuff so much, and I was interested. So I would, if you're like Big Dog, you can just enjoy it. If you're like me and you're nitpicking these things, stick with it because it does get better and it does pull you in and is an interesting story.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway I have, especially with kind of, and this again, just same sentiments we said before. It was a choice. Gao wasn't a big fan. I'm not going to say I'm not a fan. I just like the immersion of this world, and that's what's keeping me engaged. And anytime we break away from that,
like this stuff, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Is that a photo? Is that video? Which is good. It looks good.
Yeah, all this I really liked.
Yeah, all this background stuff because like it's very multimedia, and I guess that's the thing. Some of it is a hit, and some of it's a miss. The way they decide to choose things.
Yeah. One thing I will say. Shoot, I had. Just because of how we reviewed Dino Fury lately, I really liked the cohesion in the story. Like there weren't any points where I felt like it was all good and then somebody did something. I'm like, why did they do that? Like everything made sense.
It was consistent. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's one thing I appreciated. But here, we have Ryder and Cruz are obviously the officers, and then we have the captain, and I forget.
And she's so super jacked as well. Like I hope that they reveal something about them getting augmented. That would just again, that's like we talk about Power Rangers, like a line of dialogue that fixes it.
Could be very Starship Troopers too, where everybody's just jacked.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess. Yeah. I would like an explanation is all I'm saying. And I understand like, well, all superheroes are muscular. Yeah. But you look at the X-Men, they don't all have the exact same body. You know what I mean? This bothered me. It was supposed to be, here's a hologram of the person we're looking for, but then it looks like he's just standing next to him at the exact same size. I wish it was smaller, bigger, cut to him on a screen. Again, we don't need more animation. I'm not trying to give more work for you, but like, it looked like somebody teleported in to stand next to him. In my mind. And yeah, I don't know. This was weird.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I do like the glitch effect.
I do too. Yes.
I think initially when you go frame by frame, yes. When you're in it, it's like, and then you just like.
Well, this is the difference between you and me because I noticed that right away.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like, I dropped it, whereas you're like, I can't not notice it.
Now this stuff that's all CGI, this all works for me. You know what I mean? Like all the drips and all the effects, all this stuff works fine for me. Again, I'm not against multimedia. I actually like, the fact that they put the water on and all that. And this is where we see that his partner is actually less of a jokey guy and more of a scummy guy.
Yeah, it's a thing where obviously the context of this matters, and we'll probably find out more. And honestly, he probably is a scummy guy. But I've said multiple times in the past where when it comes to where we fall on the what's it called? The grid of like chaotic good, chaotic neutral.
Alignment chart.
Thank you. On the alignment chart where I'm like, I could see myself saying some of the things he said, so I'm trying to withhold some judgment. But as of right now, it seems like pretty bad.
I mean, whether you personally identify with these ethics or not, he's clearly being set up to be in opposition to who is going to be the hero. And if they are going to be somewhat Power Rangers Sentai-esque, you don't want Wolverine or the Punisher being a Power Ranger. They're held to a higher standard. I
mean, I would, but...
Well, then you get Lord Draken.
No, you'd get Quantum.
Arguably.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to turn off my camera and go do some dirty work. And he's like, I'm going to hang out here and think about my morals.
Quick side note. They mentioned kind of all of the things that get you suspended, where you could be involved in a riot and kill some people and be suspended for a week with pay. Yeah. Or you could turn off your body cam and get 2 days, which they mentioned multiple times because of plot points, or pretty much like they're so like stuck with kind of the group they have that they can't afford to lose anybody. So the worst they do.
Think of like when they find rich people, oh, rich people, you do this, we're going to fine you $10,000. And they're like, fine, that's just, that means I will do it. And it's kind of the same for this. Like, oh, there's no real consequences. But in the car, he scans this other car and he basically figures out where their person is they're looking for. And he decides to follow them and do it kind of the right way.
The only thing in the, and this may be my perception,
Mhm.
when it comes to him scanning the car, I still just want confirmation that it's his eyes or the car, because that lets me
Oh,
know how
yeah.
the technology works. Just
I
because it,
agree, but I did assume it was the eyes.
yeah, that's what I did too. It seems that way, but it's just another thing of like, I'm trying to understand the limitations that they have for certain bits of technology, and it's
Yeah.
just
I mean, it
more of
does
a,
zoom in on his eye, to be fair,
okay,
and
yeah,
when
then
it
I'm
is
dumb.
red.
Yeah, so it is his
You know,
eye.
that's a nitpick I don't agree with. I think they did fine.
Yeah.
So then
Um,
there's an accident. He's chasing. There's an accident. He's okay. He's kind of upside down, and they're like, "Do you want help?" And he's no, because we're believing he's the one, like, not corrupt. See there again, they zoomed into his eye, and he's looking in red. I think they did it just fine.
yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. We find out here a person wearing primary green and a person wearing primary purple are involved
Yeah.
in this accident and run inside the building.
And then we have intermission at 9.5 minutes for a 17-minute video. That is something you could pause whenever you want. I don't understand why we have intermission.
This is an artistic choice because it gives you, you know, a moment of pause, and this is supposed to be viewed like a small movie or a full episode of show.
I would like to, like, I'm not saying this to be like a jerk. I would like to know why they decided to do this. And I don't know if they'll watch this or maybe we'll interview them again, but like in a like legitimate way. Like, why did you decide to do this? And because if it is like, if there's some artistic motive behind it, I don't know what it is, and I would like to know. It feels to me like, oh, well, we want, like you said, like a scene change or a transition. But if that's the case, why not cut back to base or his partner or a cat or anything, you know?
Maybe this was put in because, kind of like with Power Rangers, sometimes later in the episode you finally get the intro, and the intro just wasn't ready at the time of producing this.
They still could have just left this out completely or put something else in. Like I said, it seems unnecessary, and like I would like to understand why this is there. Like convince me why that should be there. That being said, we get to the tower, Arc Tower Sector 1. This made me feel like a video game for some reason.
A little bit.
Yeah. He's doing the full scan of the whole building, and now we get the exposition April O'Neil, who basically is like the hologram, like the tour guide at this place because it's a public place. So that's fine. It's a good way to get a lot of exposition out. And then they're going up. See, all this stuff, I like all this stuff a lot.
Yeah.
You know, this works visually. I mean, and I also even here, like you can tell these are like 3D renders that they're spinning, but
This is what you would have preferred earlier.
yes, yeah, and it's changed enough that it looks like computer stuff, and it's the futuristic, like it just works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And similar, all the background stuff here, like that looks like it's a photo or a video of real buildings, but it's grayed out enough and there's enough stuff going on. It's not really bothering me, you know?
Yeah.
And as they're going, like, see, that's clearly either like detailed CGI or video footage, but just didn't bother me.
Footage.
Yeah. And so this was a good idea to kind of explain more of the history of the world and stuff. It went on a little bit long for my tastes. I understand there's information we got to get across, maybe cutting to something else and coming back to it. I don't know, but it wasn't terrible. Like I said, it was a good way to get a lot of information across.
I thought it was good. I also liked kind of that we're establishing that some stuff's going on because even the police can't access certain floors.
Yes, and they talk about all the experimental stuff, which will lead into what happens later, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was all good. Okay. And even here, like this, whatever compositing of different types of things, this all works visually.
Yep.
And we skipped something important. He wants to get onto floor 65, which he can't, even with police override. So he decides to, I guess, illegally go and scale the building or whatever he's going to do. And he turns off his camera, which is a 2-day thing. So he's like, he is willing to break the rules, but not for the same reasons. It's showing
As the
like
other guy.
yeah. And so there is a difference there. And I like that. That's good writing. But from here to the end, the animation is kind of a mess.
It changes in consistency. I will say there's a spot probably in the next like 30 seconds or a minute that took me out briefly.
That right there.
Scaling.
The scaling is odd. Also, it's a weird choice to have the top of his head. It's not quite cut off, but it's just, this isn't even what I'm talking about, because this is, it's not great. But again, if we're doing motion comics, it would take so much to animate him walking over there and stuff. So fine. There are other ways they could have done it. like change the shot,
Yeah,
things
cutting
like that.
away and going back.
Yeah, cutting to something else, cutting back, or pull back. Yeah, anything. There are ways to fix that with like cinematography, but that isn't really what killed me. And there's this shot up here. Okay, this is what really, and here's why I'm going to come down so hard on this, because there are stylistic. Okay, he smashes in. There are stylistic choices, and there are limitations to budget and time and stuff. But it is literally unclear to me what happened. The storytelling is unclear, and that's why I'm going to come down so hard on it. So he puts a grappling hook. So okay, he's going to go up there. There's the music. We see him smashing through a window, flying with a gun, and then he's standing there, no glass. His gun is holstered, and he's not facing them. I didn't realize what was at first. I'm like, oh, he's busting these people. Then I'm like, oh, he's looking at the people he's going to bust, and these are just like other people in the background, like. And he never turns around. Like they start talking about him. Like, either I'm missing something, or this is just weird, and he's not looking at the people he's trying to arrest. Am I right?
I kind of took it that way, where because of the body models and how they're facing, it makes it unclear if he's fully aware or not. And I will say, I really liked the animation of him with a gun, but kind of like we see in 2 seconds, he should have just been in the start of the scene like that.
He should have been at the start of the scene like that. And now this is supposed to be him firing at the people behind him, and they have some kind of force field or whatever that's stopping him. It's really bad. It's really bad storytelling. I'm not criticizing the animation, the character models,
just
anything
the
like
angles.
The angles, and I understand every new pose and stuff is money and time or whatever, but like get one shot of him from the back or 3/4, just so he's looking that way, just one, with all the drawings, all the background, everything they have been done. That would have made this whole thing less confusing.
Like ignoring everything we said before, if this shot, because obviously that is standard, this is unique for this scene, is what it feels like. That when it's being made, just made, like you said, angled differently, could have enhanced the scene a bit.
Yeah, and it's also weird too, because then he shoots, and then yeah, it's just very odd, and it just felt like they weren't talking to each other. And then these guys come in, and then okay, we have this fade, like he's going to chase them. And it seemed like they wanted to have like a big action scene, but couldn't really get it. Like this stuff I don't love, but it doesn't bother me as much because I know this is just limitations. But that part where he wasn't looking at the people he was talking to, it was just, I understand time and money. One drawing of him facing the other way. And then you don't even have to do lip sync. Just have his head bob, have the gun out, like it between landing in a position that wasn't, it just really, really, really was the absolute worst part of this whole episode by far. It was the one kind of unforgivable thing because it wasn't a style choice and it wasn't because of limitations of time. It was just a really, really bad decision. And I'm sorry. Again, I give you all the props in the world for creating this and doing all the hard work. If you do a special edition, fix that shot, please. But going back to the positive, this is where they all go through here and something is going on. We're not quite sure, but they can't override. And you hear a voice saying, well, there's civilians in there. We can't turn it off. And then boom. And they're created by Clayton Younkin, who, again, we did an interview with him. I'll put a link below. Nice guy. And character art, and I have no issue with the character art, just some of the choices of animation. And then we have the rest of the
like this integration.
Yeah, of the after credits is sort of during credits.
Yeah, and it builds a suspense of what's happening here, what's happening here. Yeah. Like, I like this.
Yeah,
and it gets to highlight every person that we're seeing in the prologue.
Yes, and it will be interesting. Like we said, mixed feelings about the watch in any order, but it will be interesting in a kind of a Rashomon sort of what are the other points of view and where do they interconnect. I like that. It was just, I almost wish there was like episode 1 and then we could go back, or I don't know. You know what? I don't know what the best way to do it is. So I guess I'll just shut up.
No, I'm fine with this. Like I said, I think that specifically is just with you in the sense of you were invested and want to see the first official one and not have to is the wrong word, but like you want to just jump into Act 2 right away, but you also feel like you're missing so much stuff if you don't finish Act 1.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're like at the point, but not at the point.
Yeah, yeah. And then this is the after credits where we see the people actually, oh, they lived. What does this mean? Let's figure it out, And this says they'll continue December last year. There's a ton out right now. There's a ton. Go to the channel, check
They've
it
been
out.
doing it weekly, and we are weeks behind.
Yeah, we're way, way behind. Originally, we planned on doing a lot more of these in a row, but apparently Dino Fury is coming back very soon. So
Next week.
Is it next week? Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. So Neon Lights, good job overall. I have more nitpicks than Big Dog. I'm sorry about that to the creators. I hope you know the fact that I'm taking the time to give you my opinion means I think it's worth watching and having, you listen. It's worth me taking the time to think about it and give an opinion. You might not agree with it, and that's fine. But I hope you take it in the spirit I meant.
Yeah, kind of like we've said in other reviews, like when we are hypercritical, it's because we care and we want to give that feedback and not always, sugarcoat things. And with this, we did enjoy it. For him, obviously certain animation bits bother him a little bit more than me, but I still had some critiques as well. But moral of the story is we are excited for Act 2 and just unfortunate that because of the way the show is structured, we're not getting to Act 2 review-wise for a while.
Yeah, and also because Dino Fury came, because we were going to just start blowing through these the way we did with Crimson Vision and stuff, but now Dino Fury's coming back. Next week, we wanted to review it as soon as the new episode came out, but Big Dog is going on some kind of trip or having some kind of life or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
So one of two things is going to happen next week. Either there will be no episode, or there will be a solo Gazbot episode where I review it and then Big Dog will do it later, like we did once before. I'm not going to commit to that right now because I prefer to do it together, but I don't know if the hype train hits me, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But either way, the next episode you see from us will be Dino Fury.
Yeah. And it would be ceremonious just because the first episode of Dino Fury we reviewed exactly that way.
Really? All right. And my pizza's here, so I have to go.
There you go. One thing before we end, speaking of Dino Fury, please watch the last review, especially the end, because we had a lot of strong feelings to say. And it's as if, running joke, Hasbro's got us bugged because the main producer and showrunner, whose name's escaping me off the top of my head, please help me. Simon Bennett, thank you. Posted on Twitter, just so you guys are aware, Dino Fury was supposed to be 24 or 22 episodes, and then they said to double it. So keep that in mind. There is filler. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for confirming that.
That is dubious comfort, though. But we'll get into that more later. I really do have to end this episode. Next episode you see will be Dino Fury. Not sure if it'll be next week or the week after. I'll throw an update up when we know for sure.
He's Gazbot. I'm the Big Dog. Get out.
To the power, man.
To the power. Get out of here. I hear it. I don't see it. I only hear it through your speakers. It is not
figure it out. Well, we'll see if it's you or if it's the people.
Pizza time.
You were able to see the clips of the show I was playing, right?
During the show.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's way more important.
I see a completely black screen right now.
Well, if I need to, I can add the beginning and the end. I can't add all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we're ending the broadcast.